All right. Well, I guess we can get started. Thanks everyone for tuning into this Epoch 14 review and AMA. As usual, from what we say each week, both DYDX Trading and DYDX Foundation are always trying to become more transparent with our thoughts relating to all things DYDX and the foundation. So hopefully this helps, and the questions that you guys have gets brought up each week, and hopefully you guys can raise your hand at the end and ask some questions that you have. I think we're going to keep the same format as the last Epoch review. The deck's being shared in Discord, so I encourage all of you, and I hope all of you have managed to have a look through that, understanding the key metrics, data points, and everything interesting in Epoch 14. As usual for this, if you don't want to ask a question personally and you just want to post a comment that we can read out, keep it in the general Discord channel. But after those questions are asked, I'll open up the stage for the AMA. And so that being said, as usual, here today from the foundation are me, David, and Clifton. Carl from the grants teams here, and Corey from DYDX Trading's here to address some of those trading questions. Additionally, if there's anything that you like or dislike about this Epoch review or the structure of the mid-Epoch report, then let us know your thoughts and we'll try and change that. Cool. We can get straight into the questions. Corey, I can see that the community's had a few questions for yourself with the trading team. I guess we can start off with the first one. I know that this one gets asked in every Epoch review, but I think it's pertinent with everything V4. So how's V4 progressing? Are there any milestones being hit? And on a scale of 0 to 10, like how confident are the team at hitting these milestones laid out in the blog post?
Yeah, so basically things are continuing as we kind of laid out for the most part. If we look at the milestones that we outlined in the previous blog post, we're still in the midst of milestone 2. So we're still kind of wrapping this up. Basically what that is, just as a reminder, is an internal testnet. And I'd say we're basically like 90% done with milestone 2. So I think this will probably be completed within the next 2 to 3 weeks. And then milestone 3, we're still aiming to complete by the end of the year. And so milestone 3 is going to be a private testnet. And yeah, we're going to be getting started on that pretty soon.
Awesome. That sounds great. I'm really looking forward to seeing that being hit and more being produced in the blog post. And sort of moving back to V3 then, are there any new initiatives that are happening that anyone can be excited about?
Yeah, so as you guys know, we're spending a lot more time working on P4. So moving forward, there will probably be less and less improvements specifically on P3 over the next few months. But something notable that did launch today was the fiat on-ramp. And so now users, both new and existing, can deposit money to DYDX with a Banxa integration. So yeah, we're pretty excited about launching this. Personally, I think it could be good for people who don't really have a whole Web3 setup quite yet, to like more easily onboard to DYDX. And then I'm sure for some people it may be easier to like deposit USDC to DYDX via like a credit card as well. So yeah, that's kind of a new feature that we launched today. Feel free to go check that out.
Cool, that's great. And is there a blog post out at all, or is that just integrated directly within the wallet that we go? Does it go straight into the layer 2? How does that work specifically?
Yeah, so basically the way it works is like you onboard to DYDX the same way as usual. It's integrated with the front end, and then there's basically a button that says like deposit fiat. You click that button and it links you to Banxa. And then Banxa will then send that money to your layer 2 account.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks, Corey. And then last couple of pre-populated ones. So you can see previously that the decision was made to reduce rewards for trading leagues. What was the reason here, and how has this affected volume, if any?
Yeah, so basically, yeah, trading leagues, it's something that was pretty novel at the time, I would say, when we launched it, but there wasn't necessarily really strong signal that it was driving A, much volume to the exchange, or B, too much like new user acquisition, really. So yeah, definitely a little bit sad to wind down the USDC rewards. Having said that, Trading Leagues does still exist as a product, and you could still kind of win hedgies each week and kind of have bragging rights to, as you level up each week in Trading Leagues. But yeah, really, like there wasn't any strong data that suggested that it was worth the monetary cost that we were putting into it. And so for that reason, we wound down the USDC reward specifically. And yeah, I mean, it has not affected volume or user numbers really at all. So I think looking back, it was probably the right choice to wind that down.
Cool. Thanks for that, Corey. And then last couple, this one more so towards the kind of crypto market and how DYDX is kind of trying to manage this. So the crypto markets are down, sentiment's down. How is DYDX planning on riding this storm?
Yeah, I mean, I think, the good thing about DYDX is we've seen a lot of different cycles in crypto thus far. We were started in 2017 and, have kind of seen a lot of boom and bust cycles already in crypto. And so for us, it's kind of business as usual. We'll continue to keep building on the product. Obviously, we're spending a lot of time on V4. And, we really take a long-term outlook on the crypto market. And so, for us, we're going to continue building the best products out there. And, we're really excited for V4 to come around. And, whether or not it's a bull or bear market, we'll kind of continue grinding on.
Cool. Good to hear. And then last one was to do with the recent kind of onboarding of some high-profile Twitter affiliates. Kind of what's the thought process behind this? And is this more of a focus for the future for DYDX?
Yeah, good question. So it's something that we have been doing a little bit more of, obviously. So as you can tell from some, various influencers, they've partnered with us. We'll see, how much volume per se or new user acquisition it drives to the protocol. We'll probably kind of have these relationships with these people that are public already for the next few months. Evaluate whether or not they're actually driving any meaningful flow to the exchange, and then reevaluate. So kind of TBD there on if we want to scale that out over time or not, depending on how these guys perform.
Cool. Thanks for that, Corey. Appreciate all those questions being answered. Let's move on to the foundation team. So David and Cliff, I guess this is for you. Are there any new foundation initiatives that we're excited about that are coming towards the end of this year?
Yeah, I think we've seen a lot of really great kind of governance proposals and activities on our forums, and we're excited to continue to support community members who are iterating on different types of ideas. I think just in the last 2 weeks, we've seen a number of on-chain and off-chain governance proposals pass, and excited to see kind of the results of those materialize. And then I think there's been kind of a few active threads, notably, from Anchorage and from TrueFi, which also demonstrate kind of greater participation from other established players within the ecosystem. So excited to continue to see the community debate those proposals and see what comes out of those. I think as we move to the last quarter of this year, I think the foundation team is really focused on trying to catalyze the community to really focus on launching and growing the DYDX DAO. Obviously with V4 coming over the next few months, at that point the community will really have full control over all aspects of the protocol. And so the foundation team is currently focused on how do we help educate the community at large around V4, what a potential migration could look like, and then really making sure that the best community can really be entrusted with the control of the next version of the protocol. So we're currently kind of heads down, iterating and thinking through different ideas, and then working with community members who've reached out to try to support them through the governance lifecycle. I think lastly, for us, we're really excited to see, grants V1.5 fully funded, and starting to see really interesting community members and projects getting funded via grants, and then helping to support, the DYDX grants team, and potential grantees also navigate, the current V3 architecture and then V4 down the road.
Awesome. Thanks for that, David. And so we've got a few more questions that have come in. One is, can we briefly touch on the changes that are going to be occurring in Epoch 14 and 15?
Yeah, Cliff, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, sure. So, as David mentioned, we have been pretty active on the governance front, and we've had two proposals, on-chain proposals actually go live. So the first would be the winding down of the liquidity module and the borrowing pool, and the second would be the reduction of trading rewards by 25%. So just to touch on the first proposal, the liquidity module has effectively been wound down, and rewards for staking USDC has been set to 0. Blackout period has also been set to 3 days. So if you're looking to unstake your staked USDC, you have until October 22nd at 3 p.m. UTC to do so, just because the blackout period has been reduced again to 3 days. And staking USDC will no longer bring about any reward. So that's the first change that's going to be effective immediately. The second change is right now being queued, and we'll have about 7 days to implement, and that is the reduction of trading rewards by 25%. So this is kind of like a follow-up to an initial snapshot post that Selene Capital put out, which includes two components, right? So the first component is to simplify the trading rewards formula to just be based on volumes, right? So W equals fees. That has been implemented at the start of, I believe, Epoch 13. And the second component, Mirmute was kind enough to raise a governance proposal for this to reduce trade rewards by 25%. That has since passed the community vote and is now in the queuing process. So once that has been executed, that will go live immediately as well. And all of these changes can actually be seen on your trading dashboard, where you can see that the trading rewards will be reduced by 25%. We also, on our end, make sure that all the documentations are updated on our end. So those two are like the most effective changes that will be made in Epoch 14. There's also one last bit, and that's on the liquidity provider rewards. So we've revised a couple of weights for Bitcoin and ETH. So we've increased the weightage on volume just because they're more mature, and we have redirected these rewards towards the tail-end markets just to encourage liquidity there. And that has passed an off-chain vote. So these three are the main changes that are happening this epoch. David, is there anything you'd like to add?
No, I think that was a great overview.
Cool. And I think what might marry on the back of that is are there any interesting proposals that are currently on Commonwealth that the community should be paying attention to?
Yeah, so obviously David did mention this, but we have one proposal by Anchorage going on, in which they are proposing to lend out DYDX community tokens to market makers to increase liquidity on the platform. So I guess like the benefits of this is to essentially drive some diversification towards the treasury, and of course to improve some form of liquidity for all markets from market makers' side, because they can actually borrow and then take advantage of our fee structure and pay less fees, right? So That proposal has been up since, I believe, 3 weeks back, and we have gotten quite a few good quality feedback. So most of them are actually questioning whether market makers will actually take advantage of this and just stake the safety module and profit off the arbitrage. So we are actually going to be hosting an AMA session later, I believe this Thursday, with the Anchorage team. So would highly encourage everyone to check that out on Twitter Spaces. One other proposal is TrueFi. So TrueFi is looking to launch lines of credits for liquidity providers as well. So it's kind of like taking over the borrowing pool. And they have hosted an AMA previously where the community asked them great questions. So the next step for them is to actually hash out what this PM function would look like. So this portfolio management or PM function would actually be spearheaded by the community, where a few leading community members will actually be looking at who should be onboarded to TrueFi, what is the maximum amount of capital that each market maker or LP would be willing to or would be qualified to borrow from the borrowing pool. So yeah, I think like it's going to be like a multi-sig function where there's going to be 5 community members who will be overseeing this PM role. And I don't know if they might want to host an AMA, or they're probably going to, post more details around how this PM group is structured, what's the flow of operations around that. And they might be looking to launch a snapshot poll to ratify this pretty soon.
Nice. Awesome. Thanks for that, Cliff. The next question, which I could probably take. So are there any future trader community run programs that people can get involved with? I think right now we're still in the kind of speculative stage and planning stage, but we're definitely thinking about like a version 2 potentially of an ambassador program of such, whether that be users in high like volume in number, or we do like a really small one. Again, it will probably be community driven in that sense, without any kind of like foundation holding. There's other things that we're sort of put in the planning stage of having like a community cauldron, with the community having, I don't know, some role in deciding small amounts of funding. We're kind of in the early stages of thinking through a potentially DYDX Quills program where we have small pockets of communities internationally running sort of like some media and marketing initiatives that they may want to come up with brand assets that we pre-populate and get together. And yeah, thinking about other ways that we can really try and make things more trader specific as well. Thinking about ways we can create some form of reputation XP points within the ecosystem, and really encourage anyone who's got any good ideas about how we can think about community ran, trader ran programs to come forward and potentially apply for a grant or share the ideas with the foundation on how we can support there. So I guess that's probably anything that's in the pipeline from a trader community run program for the time being, and definitely encourage anyone to reach out if they want to go through any ideas there. Cool. I guess that's it from the foundation questions. Is there anything else you guys want to mention, David, Cliff?
Yeah, I think the last thing to mention, one initiative I'm particularly excited about that was funded by the grants program is the DYDX Academy. Again, I think there's been some really great content and educational videos that have been produced by a number of community members that I think have been really impactful, and personally very excited to see the grants program really build out a team and structure around that and help scale kind of the academy more broadly. I think that's going to be an extremely important community-driven initiative that will have a lot of impact for the ecosystem going forward. So specifically wanted to call that out as well.
Awesome. Thanks, David. Cool. Okay. Just quickly before we get on to Carl, Alucard is going to post the POAP form in the general channel. Can everyone go into the general channel who wants your POAP? Secret words Epoch 14. So go in and claim your POAP if you want it for this AMA. And that'll stay up there probably for the next 10 minutes and then be removed. So make sure you do claim that ASAP. Okay, last but not least, Carl, I guess there's a few questions that have come in for the grants team specifically, and I know these are similar week on week, but I think it'd be great to just reiterate, what are the grants team on the lookout for I guess, the next grant?
Yeah, for sure. Always happy to go over this. So, we're still pursuing the initial mission of onboarding new users and kind of expanding the DYDX brand name, while also focusing and exploring on different important research topics that will help the community with decision making across chain parameters that will be the responsibility of the DYDX community in the new chain, or at least that's kind of how we envision this playing out. And so, we're really just looking for different growth initiatives across international communities and events, workshops, sponsorships, just really excited to partner and collaborate with a variety of different methods that follow through with this mission of really just kind of attracting new users, building on the DYDX brand name, and kind of continuing to act as a growth method. On the research side, we've already issued a few grants across, tokens, fee parameters, and exchange parameters, and that sort of thing. But there's still a ton of topics there that are going to need to be addressed, and we're super eager to work with qualified research participants that are willing to put their head down and figure out the important questions on behalf of the community, so that when the time comes that we have to make these decisions, we have a substantial amount of resources that we can all turn to collectively and use as part of our decision making. So those are kind of the two that we're really finding to be the most available, while remaining impactful in this kind of like migration state that we find ourselves in, right? With V1, we had kind of addressed this earlier, right? Like with V1, we were able to work on tooling and kind of more short-term initiatives, but now that we know that the chain is migrating, it feels kind of less impactful for us to focus on those types of grants, knowing that either they won't be able to port over, or if they do, it'll just require additional work from the grantee that we can't guarantee they'll do. It's kind of hard for us to work on those kinds of initiatives today. So we, we'll, like everybody else, we're excited to see, testnet and stuff like that. And when that's released, I think we'll be able to work on a ton of more grants. But for the time being, it really is more on the growth side of things that we've got our heads at.
Awesome. No, that's great to hear. I mean, is there anything like really exciting you guys that are coming through? How's the cadence of the grants that are coming through?
Yeah, for sure. So, like everything else, grants and kind of contributor participations, we see it everywhere, does drop in bear markets. People who previously would look to contribute in order to gain exposure or just kind of like gain credentials in spaces, some of them drop out and suddenly go back to working in Web2 or TradFi jobs or whatever it might be. And so, you do see a drop in applicants. We're still getting a few applicants a day, and we do see still substantial opportunities out there. It just means that I think the grants team is kind of more doing outreach versus like incoming. That's kind of a big difference between bear markets versus bull markets, right? Is in a bear, we have to do a lot more outreach and actually try to like go out of our way to find the right grantees, whereas in a bull market, they typically come to you. But there's obviously nothing wrong with that. That's part of the responsibility, but it does mean that, we are a little bit more limited at the time, but we still have, lots of exciting initiatives, lots of new topics as well that are coming up now with V4 as we get closer. Like, what will MEV look like on the new chain is something that we're thinking about a lot right now, and we're seeing comparable solutions and questions being both asked and answered across other Cosmos SDK chains. For example, Osmosis with Recently at Cosmoverse, there's a big discussion on kind of how to address that. And so replicating that for DYDX is going to be super interesting. So we're actively looking for people that can help us answer those questions. In terms of existing grants, we have, like David mentioned, the Academy, which is moving along super well. We're adding more grants to that, and the team is working really hard there. We've got the merch that are also just really hard at work, and we're adding the merch web store now in our latest round, which will be a really awesome kind of Web3 customized web store that'll have like token gating for drops dedicated to Hedgie holders, drops dedicated to DYDX holders, and kind of priority access to these different types of holders and payments through both traditional and crypto systems, and just kind of like scaling it up so that it's not just a boring old web store, but actually, again, builds on this DYDX brand that we have.
Nice. That's super exciting. Great to hear. I guess that's everything from the community questions. I guess, is there anything else that you'd like to mention at all, or?
Yeah, for sure. So another thing, Shipboard just released their dashboard, which was awesome. They had kind of, they actually completed that like a couple weeks ago, but I had been working with them to give the grants team commit access to the repo so that we can go ahead and keep updating the grants page. And like I mentioned in the grants channel, we're still working through that data, but the goal here is to kind of leverage the dashboard that they use, because it's really clean. I like the way that it looks, and I don't think that I could do much better personally. I'm not really a web developer, so we're just going to leverage that and use it as a kind of auditable source on behalf of the community, so that you guys can all verify the transactions that we're doing and point to them and see the payments being issued to the different grantees when they're being completed, how much they're receiving, and kind of like provide an audit source. On top of that, as a means of improving transparency, we've seen this mentioned in the community channels as well, and we want to make sure that it is being addressed so that people are comfortable with the work that's being done. We're planning a release of we basically ported over, we use Airtable on the back end, but that Airtable is hard to share directly with the community. So we built a system that ports over at least the important data into our own database that we are now using to build an additional dashboard on top. I can actually drop like a quick link for this one in the grants channel if anybody's interested. I just like drafted up a super quick example of what it would look like. Happy to get more feedback, but basically the goal here is, we heard people wanted to see what the application data looked like, and who's being approved, who's being rejected, like what sort of categories and everything. So this is going to live in our website for the time being. It's sitting here while we're working on integrating. But hopefully these two will kind of improve transparency that I know has been kind of a discussion point for the grants program. And obviously we hear the issues, and we want to make sure we're working with people to address those.
Nice. Thanks, Carl. That's great. Yeah, everyone go check that out. Really interesting to see you play more of a role in that transparency side of things. Cool. I guess that's it from all the questions from the team up here. I guess if anyone wants to ask any questions, by all means raise your hand and we can bring you on stage. We've got about 15 minutes, so yeah, feel free. If you've got any questions, I will bring you up. If not, post them in the Epoch 14 an AMA channel on Discord, in the general channel, and we can definitely answer those over the next 15 minutes in there. But for the time being, if anyone wants to be brought up, raise your hand. I'll give it a couple of minutes. Cool. Real Bavoshka, I'll bring you up.
Hello guys, do you hear me loud and clear?
Good morning, loud and clear. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question. It's like I'm constantly looking on the trading reward distribution for the last epochs, and I see that like one account is like getting almost 50% of all trading rewards, which is insane. And while this account is kind of connected to DYDX, I mean, not directly, but I mean, I found out that this is Mirana Corporation, and they are getting 1.5 million trading rewards last epoch. How can you comment on that? What's this kind of a decentralization on exchange going?
I don't know if that's a better question for the trading or foundation team, and whether we, Corey, David, I'm not sure if anyone wants to answer that specifically, if we need to have a look at things, or what the next steps are here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to take a first stab at it. I mean, again, I don't know specifically the details behind the account, but there is no, to my knowledge, like any DYDX affiliated traders on the exchange. Like there is no prop trading desk that's earning any rewards. More likely than not, it is, a market maker that's active on the platform that's really optimizing their algos for trading rewards. Again, there's been notable changes to the formulas over the last few epochs, including, more recently removing all other factors other than fees to earn rewards. So really, it's directly proportional to the amount of fees that all of the traders pay. Again, it's not surprising that may result in a higher concentration into, a smaller amount of traders on the platform. It's certainly something that I think several community members continue to highlight and to flag. But, I think, again, a lot of these rewards and formulas have been iterative, right? And I think I definitely encourage you and the rest of the community to continue to look at the data, which is completely public, and to really think through, whether the reward formulas are incentivizing the right behaviors, and if that type of concentration continues to increase, potentially change, the formula via governance to try to make it more equitable or distributed, but also drive, the objectives of increasing volume and fees to the exchange. So at least that's from my standpoint. Corey, I don't know if you have anything to add.
Nope, agree with what you said.
Okay, I just want to add, if there is this is a market maker. Normally with such a market maker volume, the market maker fee discount is actually 100%, so they actually pay no fee. The Wintermute actually is paying around like 30,000 fees per epoch, which is really low. I myself paid much more, but this account is definitely not a market maker, because if you get 1.5 million of reward with a volume of so last epoch, I see the data, DYDX got around 5.8 million of fees. So basically this account could pay around 2.5 million. And with this amount, it's just impossible for market maker to pay this kind of fees. How do you comment on that?
Yeah, again, I can't speak to like their specific strategy, but I think there's obviously different fees for taker fees and maker fees, and then there is sub account functionality or linked account functionalities, which does allow programmatic traders to link multiple accounts and aggregate rewards to like the main account. So that, again, they may be trading less volume and paying fees across multiple accounts, but again, I can't really speak to the specifics of their strategy, but that would be kind of my current assumption there.
So it's good that you raised this linked account functionality, because I guess it started from Epoch 12 and it was not publicly posted somewhere on Discord or anywhere, and it was used only by a small number of accounts. Even the Mika didn't know about this functionality, and he's like very technical guy. I mean, I mentioned him because I just was active on Discord and he said that he didn't know about that. So because of this functionality on Epoch 12 and 13, all other accounts got much less rewards than the estimated rewards formula showed. So on Epoch 12, it was around 7% discrepancy. On Epoch 13, it was around 15%. So, and it was a big problem because it's a big amount of money that other traders didn't get because they basically had different conditions. If you compare to the people who had this linked account functionality, I raised the topic on Commonwealth and I got, different opinions. So the James from DYDX Trading told that it was special for liquidity providers. And then Antonio said it was public. But in general, there were no any publications about that. And so it caused a big discrepancy in the Epoch 12 and 13. I wanted to raise this attention to this because it's a lot of tokens for many normal users. And I think it's better for DYDX, it's my opinion. I don't have a lot of tokens to affect the governance. So, but for DYDX, I think it's a great idea to somehow make a proposal and compensate people for Epoch 12 and 13. I don't know if other people agree with me or not. We can, ask in the community. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for raising your point of view. Again, feel free to go to the forums and try to get the community to support, a proposal. Again, any type of compensation from the Treasury would have to go through a governance lifecycle. And certainly if you and enough other community members feel that should be the case, then I encourage you to do that. I think going back to your earlier point around just like public disclosure, again, our intent here has and continues to be really to have a level playing ground with all traders on the platform. Again, no one has privileged access. All documentation is public. I think there's a broader question of whether everyone is made aware of changes to all of the public documentation, but the sub-account functionality and linking accounts has been updated on our governance page and kind of in our public docs from day one. And so, there were various announcements on Twitter, et cetera, as well, announcing that. So, again, encourage you to continue to make the case and to go directly to governance. But I will state that, the documentation was public, and we continue to maintain a fair and even playing ground for all traders on the platform.
Cool. Thanks, Oscar. Thanks, David. Sweet. I guess we can probably end it there. There's no other questions. Thanks for everyone to tuning in, posting their questions and asking the team for detailed responses there. I think keep up the comments and interaction. It's really encouraging to see traders passionate about the exchange. We really value the support and feedback there. So we'll end on that note. This will, as usual, be deciphered and posted as soon as we can. There's a long process in the background of sending this off to get transcribed, but we'll keep you updated as soon as the blog post is up and this is posted on YouTube and ready. So we'll leave it there. Thanks for your time, Carl, Cliff, David and Corey, and we'll catch you next